Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Biniam Gatana. Thank you for joining us. And now the news in full. Do stay tuned. The ruling Prosperity Party commenced its first extraordinary General Assembly meeting in Hawassa City, Sidama State today. The Prosperity Party is expected to fulfill requirements from the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, which stipulates that the party must hold its General Assembly meeting and re-elect its leadership in such official platform. Meanwhile, the 10 million strong ruling party will seize the opportunity to trash out issues related to good governance, democracy and development, as well as a host of other current issues. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed expressed during the meeting that challenges are not merely an obstacle, but it is also an opportunity that paves door for learning.
ፈተና ችግር ብቻ ሳይሆን እድል የሚሰጥ መሆኑን የአንደኛ ጉባኤያችን ውይይት
Challenges are not only obstacles, but also an opportunity that pave the door for learning. The other indispensable point that we had discussed was on how we are intending to export wheat production. In this urgent meeting of ours, I affirm you that we are going to fully export wheat.
ሪፖርት ላደርግላችሁ የምፈልገው በዚህ ዓመት ስንዴ ኤክስፖርት እናደርጋለን.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister went on saying that the country has several untapped potentials and promising opportunities for growth and development.
Our country has several potential and promising opportunities for growth and development. However, we need to work on our differences that have been a bottlenecks on achieving our goal. There could have been several misunderstandings in our past history and more.
Meanwhile, members of the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission expressed hopes that the coming 2023 will see candid and useful dialogue across the breadth and width of the Horn of Africa nation. Talking to ETV, Jonas Adaye himself, one of the commissioners, further pointed out that the dialogue is an important process to address ill facing the nation. Take a look.
The warring parties who were engaged in active war against ceasefire and handled their differences with dialogue based on the agreement in Pretoria, and things are now moving in the right direction. If implemented well, peace would prevail in the country, people could run their daily activities without reservations, the social fabric would revive again, and the country would fix its diplomatic relations with the outside world so that life would go in a better manner. A member of the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission, Dr. Jonas Adaye, said the establishment of the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission is fundamental to conducting an inclusive national dialogue for bolstering national consensus and restoring social values in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia must start asking, why should we always dwell in conflict? Why is this a structural problem? What entrenched it in this country? So for such projects, there is a real need that we have to come together in dialogue. Civil war, sometimes labeled as identity conflict, some other times taken as resource conflict, some other times known as marginalization impact, or lack of equality among ethnic groups, or lack of representation in governance or government as a whole. So this situation of society and state relation, that definitely created such turmoil or chaos or crisis in Ethiopia, should be seen scientifically.
Ethiopia's politics is highly influenced by competing historical narratives that really need a thorough investigations and study to verify how truly the narratives have been evolving. Here, later, Ethiopians of different backgrounds are found instrumental in forwarding their hopes and aspirations as well as reservations on the effectiveness of the Dialogue Commission.
Now, dialogue is from bottom up. Let's listen to our people. Let's use indigenous knowledge. The very people must speak. All inclusive, people must be included. No one should be left behind. The way we operate must also be accountable to the very people. It is of the people, for the people, by the people. Not the definition of Abraham Lincoln's democracy, but dialogue in our own definition at the same time. So this is a popular institution. by the people themselves. So almost everything in Ethiopia needs to be really dialogue.
He further explained that for the people to live together, all national groups in Ethiopia should come to the round table to handle their differences. More importantly, the elites are more responsible in leading the people to the right direction instead of exploiting competing narratives that fuel the division of the social fabric.
Meanwhile, senior Ethiopian government officials who inked agreements with the TPLF in South Africa recently briefed the parties concerned in the Hudson Institute about the peace deal. National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, Redwan Hussein, tweeted that the discussion was fruitful. Hussein said the parties were briefed extensively on such issues as reconstruction and rehabilitation. The Hudson Institute, based in Washington, D.C., brings together academics and decision-making politicians to discuss international issues. And moving on, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, lauded Ethiopia and Sudan for peace agreement and reconciliation, respectively. Speaking at the opening of the Committee of Ambassadors meeting on IGAD Budget 2023, IGAD Executive Secretary said the progresses recorded on the peace agreement in Ethiopia and the National Reconciliation Agreement in Sudan are significant developments for the region. The regional bloc disclosed that it has seized 90% of its organizational reform. Johannes Fenton has compiled the following story. Take a look.
The Intergovernmental Authority on Development in Eastern Africa was created in 1996 to supersede the Intergovernmental Authority on Drought and Development, which was founded in 1986. Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, Sudan and Uganda took action through the United Nations to establish the Intergovernmental Body for Development and Drought Control in their region. The 2023 budget meeting with the IGAD member states, ministerial expert and a committee of ambassadors is taking place here in Ethiopia. Expressing the success delivered 90% organizational reforms of IGAD, Workana Gabayo, the executive secretary, urged member states on budgetary support for works planned to be implemented.
The Secretariat has successfully delivered on 90.3% of the operational reforms that we committed to complete over this reporting period, and we are now appealing to the support of our member states to conclude the remaining 8.7% of our job. In particular, budgetary support is very essential for the final implementation that we are striving for of the approved HR structure, application of the revised IGAD Treaty, launch of the Council of Eminent Personalities, establishment of the regional award programs that we have launched.
As the region is in peace and security dilemma, the Executive Secretary appreciated and congratulated Ethiopia and Sudan for their success in peace agreement and national reconciliation, respectively.
The progress recorded on the peace agreement in the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the National Reconciliation Agreement in the Republic of Sudan, not more than before 3 days, are the significant developments for the region. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, for all the positive wind which is going in our region, I ask you the appreciation to all our member states, and specifically the people, the member states who did this very important decision. So I want to congratulate them. I want to congratulate the region and as well as IGAD.
Despite the success in Ethiopia and Sudan, the Executive Secretary underscores that the region is under threat by violent extremist groups and called upon member states to work with solidarity to fight these threats of the region.
We take note of the threat of peace, prosperity, and development posed by violent extremist groups whose operations have been expanding over the last year. IGAD condemns all acts of terrorists and urges the use of our region to resist being lured in these groups. Furthermore, we call upon member states and partners to join in solidarity to overcome these threats which we are seeing around the region.
The regional organization believes that the approval of the 2023 budget will offer opportunity to advance the strategic objectives and enhance self-reliance of the organization in order to realize the shared vision of a peaceful, prosperous, and economically integrated region.
You're still watching at this news hour. Now, moving on another news. The Ethiopian Electric Service has announced that the services have been resumed in the Tigrayan region of Majo. Malaku Taye, Director of Corporate Communication with the Ethiopian Electric Service, told the Ethiopian press agency that the southern town of Majo has received electricity today as a result of the coordinated efforts made to provide access to electricity services in the Tigray region. The Waldia District Director of the Ethiopian Electric Services, Shemal Walde Samayat, has confirmed that the city and its surroundings have regained electricity. The director explained that the electricity service in the area was restored after the maintenance of the 66 kilovolt power transmission line from Alamata to Majo was completed.
After the peace agreement signed between the federal government and TPLF, peace is being restored in Ethiopia. In this December, we will bring to you fresh stories about the implementation of the peace agreement and other socio-economic and political matters of the country. Watch us on English language channel every day at 9 p.m.
ETV English, the voice of Renaissance and diversity, will bring you up to speed with latest developments regarding New Year and Christmas, especially Ethiopian Christmas named Ganna. Follow us on social media platforms. Stay tuned to ETV Language channel.
Thirty-two countries are contending to lift up the most prestigious cup in the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. This December, ETV Language will provide the World Cup updates. Stay tuned to ETV Languages.
Russia expressed readiness to share knowledge, technology, and experience with Ethiopia on various areas. The disclosure came during the 8th Ethio-Russia Intergovernmental Commission meeting. In an exclusive interview with the Ethiopian news agency, it was disclosed that the Ethio-Russia Intergovernmental Commission meeting will enable the two countries to further strengthen their cooperation in various areas. The two countries have long-standing relationship, he said, adding nowadays there is a possibility to unite efforts and start the new level of bilateral relation of the two countries. In other domain, some 714 Ethiopian artifacts taken to France for research purposes 5 decades ago have been returned to Ethiopia. The artifacts comprising of ancient stone tools and remains of animals. Head of cooperation with the French Embassy in Addis Ababa, Sophie Makamet, handed over the artifacts to Director General of Authority for Research and Conservation of Cultural Heritage, Abebo Ayalew, on Thursday. Ayalew said during the occasion that the artifacts were all found in Ethiopia in the 16th by the renowned archaeologist and paleontologist Gian Chavelon and his colleagues while conducting field research in the lower Omo Rift Valley during the year 1916 to 17. Kame, for her part, said the research and scientific cooperation is another indication of the fruitful relationship between France and Ethiopia. In our business segment, the Ethio-Djibouti Railway says it has been facilitating regional economic integration, covering 15% of Ethiopia's import and export logistic facilitation over the last 3 months. In an exclusive interview with the Ethiopian news agency, Ethio-Djibouti Railway CEO Abdi Zennebe stated that the railway has been expanding and diversifying its services. Jerusalem Feza has compiled the full story, and take a look.
The Ethio-Djibouti Railway, ADR, has been transporting very critical commodities to and from Ethiopia. Approached by Ethiopian news agency, Ethio-Djibouti Railway CEO Abdi Zennebe stated that, as part of diversifying ADR's service, it has started transporting vehicles and fertilizer, and it will soon start transportation of sugar and other important commodities. Economic aspect is one of the focus areas of ADR, Abdi stated, adding on the Ethiopian side, the company has been playing a very prominent role in transporting the primary export item. Particularly, 98% of coffee is transported via ADR.
In the last quarter, we have able to try to cover 15% of the overall import and export logistics of the country from the Ethiopian side. We have witnessed major progress in the terms of the freight transportation, but we need to enhance our capability and efficiency in passenger transportation services.
I think that regional integration is one of the crucial elements that connect the Horn of Africa with the rest of Africa. Abdi stressed, ADR always gives priority for this important component of its purpose.
The Ethio-Djibouti Railway Transport Company has multiple purposes that serves in the Horn of Africa region, and one of the most important one is to bring about regional integration between the two countries. And of course, regional integration is part and parcel of the Continental Free Trade Agreement, and this is a practical demonstration.
Speaking of the service it rendered with regard to facilitating efficient and effective import-export transport and logistics, the CEO said that ADR has been working hard. Ethio-Djibouti Railway, established in April 2017 as a share company between Ethiopia and Djibouti.
In our African updates, Angola is hosting the Organization of Africa, Caribbean and Pacific States meetings. The fight against poverty, sustainable development and integration into the world economy of the countries that make up the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific remain the major objectives of the organization, and this will be a major flag of Angola, which now assumes the rotating presidency of the ASP for the next 3 years. Once again, Johannes Fantaun has compiled the full story, and take a look.
The current situation within the members of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States calls for flexible, innovative and inclusive approaches to tackle poverty and its root causes. Angola, which heads the group, reviews its goals during the third day of the meeting, which precedes the 10th summit of heads of states and governments that starts Friday in Luanda. Emphasis were laid on the importance of young people and women in the future of Africa.
Especially in Africa, we are recognizing more and more the role of women in our society. We are aware that without the women, we won't be able to really build the Africa that we want. And the youth is the future of Africa. So we are really counting on the youth. But the youth in our countries, developing countries, they are meeting a lot of challenges due to the weak economies that we have, the schools the kind of schools that we have. The youth unemployment is very high in our African countries. So it's those kind of issues that we are dealing with.
The heads of state and other member countries are expected to commit to the consolidation of solidarity, but not just that.
Of course, the heads of state are concerned with other important issues, and in this declaration there will be issues linked to the environment, the fight against climate change, and an important engagement that there must be on the part of the international community in supporting countries facing very serious problems, such as drought, flood, and some typhoons that often destroy property, particularly in the Caribbean and Pacific islands.
It is expected that on Saturday, the meetings will end with the signing of Luanda Declaration, where these commitments will be put to books.
Isso é o que eles consideram o ritmo do mundo, a mistura dos ritmos. Frente, o juiz deu a falta. Deu o Sam, voltou com o Dunga. Agora vem cruzamento. No capricho, olha o gol! Vamos ver o lance. Vamos ficar aqui. Mauro Silva falhou, olha a chance. Grande! Os jogadores no banco abraçados. O Brasil inteiro e você, Márcio Santos. Partiu, bateu! Albertini ajeita. Ele beijou a bola. Não tomou distância. Partiu Tafarel. É gol da Itália. O time fez para a Itália. O Romário vai para a cobrança. Ele e Pagliuca. Momento de angústia. Partiu Romário. Pé direito. Bateu. Vai. Toma muita distância. Autoriza o juiz. Sai que é sua, Tafarel. Bateu no meio do gol. Da fé da seleção brasileira. A Itália fez 2. Lá vai Branco. Vai partir a bomba na perna esquerda. Partiu Branco, bateu, é gol! Do Brasil! Tafarel. Baixo e Tafarel. Vai partir, vai que é sua, Tafarel. Partiu, bateu, acabou! 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 É tetra! É tetra! Futebol! O Brasil! 24 anos depois, é tetracampeão mundial de futebol. Brasil, Brasil, Brasil.
And now turning our attention to the current World Cup in Qatar. Croatia seemed to have lost it to Brazil when Neymar Jr. netted it, matching Pele's 7-7 goals. However, an equalizer at the 170th minute brought life into the Croatia team. Since then, things dramatically went the Croatia way. Armed with a history of winning penalties, the Croatia team scored all shots while Brazil missed 2, cutting out of the tournament as hopes of